Can you see where I got the cone? The cone's maybe 3/4 of an inch back, so it spreads the heat out quite nicely. Hi, I'm Paul Brodie. We're in my shop. There's a man called Mitch. He's behind the cameras. He's filming, videoing. Welcome to my shop. We're working on the BI-PLANE fork. It's a Ritchey invention. I've done a little bit of homework since I last saw you last episode. This will be the final episode. This is the sample that I'm making it like. This one here is tig-tacked. So the first thing I'm going to do is to braise this up, and then you'll know how it's braised. Here's a couple which I did braise yesterday, so that's what it looks like. I used a bare bronze rod mostly. I used nickel silver up here. This is a bare bronze rod, 3/32. I'll show you my technique. And then I did some filing. So that's what it looks like. I still have to go out to the belt sander. These need to be rounded. I put a new belt on this morning. So you're going to see how I do this. This is not an easy job. Even when I talked to Tom on the phone, he told me what a pain in the ass this is. It wants to move, or after he started on the unicrown fork, that was a lot less of a headache for him making forks. But he does still make forks sometimes, and as you know, I got roped into making a few forks. So first thing we're going to do is to get the brazing torch going. Normally for most of the frame building I do, I use a 0 tip. I found that with the size of these plates, these are 3/16 mild steel, I had to go up a size, so I got a number 1 tip. Merchandise. We're having a sale for Christmas, 18% off. It's been popular. Thanks for watching. Let's go to the brazing station. So I have to braise inside. That's because the steer tube comes halfway down into this lower crown. And I bored it out on the mill with a hole saw, inch hole saw. And then I machine the steer tube so it just goes inside. So can you see where there's a lip there? Can you see that little ridge there? That's the plate, and that's the steer tube. And it's a little hard to see, but there's a bunch of flutes in there. That's a Columbus steer tube, and it's got the internal flutes. I couldn't find any stamping on the outside for Columbus, but once I saw the flutes inside, I knew that that was Columbus, because hardly anybody does that now, I think. I mean, how many people make inch steer tubes now? Not many. I'm timing myself because there's a lot of brazing here, and I try and make it as smooth as I can so that there's less in the way of filing later. And I did those other 2 crowns, and I think I'm almost at about an hour. I know first time I did just this, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. I started up here, and that was a mistake because it's harder to heat that up. So I'm starting on the bottom here, and that took about half an hour. It's like, that's a long time. Okay, let's see what happens here. Can you see that? How the nickel silver just flows into that space between the 2 metals. So I switch rods now. I'm on the bare bronze 3/32, and I'm just going to lay a bead around. I'm not doing nickel silver first like I normally do. I just try and lay a smooth bead. I know I don't have my gloves on, so in that sense I'm not setting a good example. But when we made all those frames, and we did all the brazing. Nobody wore gloves in the shop. I only started wearing gloves when I taught Frame Building 101, and I knew I had to set an example in that. So if you're not being really careful with the brazing torch and the rod, please wear gloves. It's a good idea. I just didn't feel like it today. So I'm trying to make it pretty smooth. I think I'm doing okay. I'm always moving the fork so that where I'm fillet brazing, it's horizontal. And that's the flat spot where I want the braze to go, because otherwise you're fighting gravity. So this is the next step, is to go all around the crown race. So I want the braze, the nickel silver, to go right down inside, because there's a little bit of a gap. And then when everything's cooled down, this goes over to the lathe, and I cut the crown race on the lathe. Can you see where I got the cone? The cone's maybe 3/4 of an inch back, so it spreads the heat out quite nicely. And you can see the nickel silver flow. Can you see it moving along? So I heat up the crown race so that nickel silver sucks down. And then I add a bit more on the top to get a little bit of a fillet on the top. Very tiny fillet. All right, so now I'm going to go around the bottom. I'll start right here. Easier to start here than right there. Takes less heat here. Oops, it's hot. Okay. Sort of brazing backwards now because I'm coming towards me. But as long as it works, that's all that matters. I learned to braze in grade 8 when I was 12 years old. And I kind of never forgot how to do it. So that was a good thing. I'm copying Tom here. He puts on a big fillet braze here. Nice big radius for over top of the tire. Okay, 55 minutes. That's how long it takes. I wonder how long Mr. Ritchie takes. Probably way quicker than that. I got my 1/4 inch die grinder. This is a spiral roll. So I'm going to use this to do this here. I'm not going to follow up the whole thing. That's going to take a while. So I'm going to show you how I do this, and then I'm going to show you how I do the inside. It's a different tool. This is too large to go inside. It won't work. What I used inside here is a porting tool. This is used to port inlet ports, exhaust ports on motorcycles, cars, whatever. It's got a foot control. And this particular burr Doesn't have to be that long, but it's for going inside the ports. Anyway, it does a really nice job here. So I got 2 hands on the tool, 1 on the foot. That's as much as I'm going to do. So you can see what I just did there. I took about 5 minutes and I did inside there, and so you can see here I've gone all around, and then I can take a little bit of 80 grit emery and smooth it more. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go outside to the belt sander, and I'm just going to round these corners, and the belt sander is going to be in line with the blade. It's not going to be like that. It's going to be in line with the blade. So I have to be careful when I'm using the belt sander not to nick this nice Columbus blade. I think you get the idea. I'm going to be out here for a little while and got to do all 4. And there's a little mark there. I'm going to have to file that out. I don't know. That looks like from that, it's the porting tool. It looks like I slipped at one point. Just noticed that. Okay, let's go back inside. See that radius comes around there? You do not want to have any grind marks there. And it happens really quick, so we can use the spiral roll. Okay, what I want to show you, it's part of the art of the fillet braze. Can you see this line that comes off the dropout? You see how that line goes right up and around. It's continuous, there's no breaks, there's no lumps, and then it comes back down there. That's what I like. So if you're looking at fillet brazing of someone, you know, look for little things like that. Where is that line? It can be on the back, on the rear dropouts too. I know it's all changed now with the disc brake and that, but always look for a nice line. Okay, next thing we want to do, we want to check the spacing here, because I got to put on the cantilever bosses, and when you do all this fillet brazing, it pulls in. So let's measure. Okay, so the hub is 100, so you want the spacing to be 101, so the hub always just goes in. And the spacing here, it looks like we need to do a bit of alignment, but we're under 95. So if I want to put in my dummy axle, this is probably 101 or something. Can you see that? Look how far it's got to come out. So I'm going to pull that. We're going to do that in the vise. I'll get my alignment fixture. Okay, so let's put in this fork and just see for fun if it lines up. Can you see? Equal space on either side. So Tom did a good job. And then, oh, look at that. Okay, so this leg really has to come out, doesn't it? Let's see what we can do. We had this bench when we were frame building back in the days, and see that? That's for your foot. So you can put some bit of muscle into it. So now we're at 97. We are at 101. So I need to pull this out, and that has to come in. Okay, can you see that? Pretty even. So I think we're going to go with that. Yeah, we're at 101. That's nice. Is it just going to lift off? Oh yeah. I'm just going to do one side, and then I'll fillet braze it, and we'll do the other side, and then I'm going to work on the crown race so you know what happens in the lathe. I've never fillet brazed on a cantilever boss before. I have not done that. So, how hard can it be, right? We'll find out. I'm copying Tom now. I'm trying to put just a little extra on, because if I start filing and I've got a low spot, then I have to heat it all up again. I don't want to do that. Okay, that's basically what a fillet braze looks like on a canty boss. That's about a whole rod used up there. I'm just going to take one cut so that you can see how this works. Well, that's how I would make a biplane fork inspired by Tom Ritchey. Hope you enjoyed that, and sale on merchandise. Mitch and I like coffees, and please subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. It really helps us. We like that. We'll see you next episode. We're going to do maybe a little bit on the golds. I have a gold star. I don't know if Mitch grabbed some footage, but I am the proud owner of a gold star now. See you next time. Take care.